Welcome, restless souls and seekers of hidden truths, to your nightly refuge where bright veneers are peeled back and the pulse of show business beats raw and loud. Welcome back to Secrets Behind the Stars. Tonight we step into the eye of a quiet storm, the kind that upends a production without a single headline leaking before its time. Picture a soundstage wrapped in shadow, a place where make-believe slips and something aching and real takes over. At the center of it all stand two names that can hush a room with a glance: Barış Arduç and Elçin Sangu. Reunited for a project wrapped in secrecy, they stumbled into a moment no one planned, a slice of what the crew now whispers about as forbidden cinema, that the studio may never dare to show. What did the cameras capture when no one had the nerve to cry cut? Before we plunge into that maze of glances, breath, and unresolved truths, I ask a small but vital favor. Subscribe to Secrets Behind the Stars, tap the bell so our stories reach you before the rumor mill does, and, if you want to support this work and unlock exclusive deep dives, hit that subscribe button with conviction. Your encouragement keeps our lights hot and our sources talking. A like and a comment are your VIP pass to the first row. Ready to touch the scene everyone is terrified to reveal? Let's begin. There are moments in film and television when performance slips its cage and becomes life, messy, luminous, uncontrollable. That, insiders say, is what burst forth on a tightly guarded set where two titans of Turkish screen chemistry found themselves under the same roof again, the disciplined, flint-eyed intensity of Barış Arduç meeting the nuanced, mercurial grace of Elçin Sangu. What should have been a routine shoot, marks hit, lines memorized, timing locked, mutated in an instant into an urban myth passing from closed group chats to feverish fan threads. At the heart of it is what everyone now calls, in a hush edged with awe, the forbidden scene. Do not be fooled by that label. There was nothing cheap or tawdry. No gratuitous reveal. The danger lay elsewhere. In a feeling that erupted without permission, a spur-of-the-moment confrontation that swerved off the script, pulling the two past the borders of craft and into a wilderness where roles swallowed people whole. It is said that an almost skeletal crew, sworn to silence, saw the scene morph from a transitional beat into a plunge. The director gave action, and the air shifted, a crackle, a pressure, something animal in the room. Barış and Elçin did not speak the lines written for them. They answered something older, moving as if haunted by memories too heavy for words. The director, transfixed by the monitors, could not bear to call cut. Imagine it. The monastic hush of the set. A camera's barely audible hum. Footsteps that dared not fall. Two performers meeting in a pocket of time where every blink counts, where breath is dialogue and silence is a thesis. The exchange drew out, deepened, turned into a duel not of bodies but souls. They stopped acting. They bled. The cardboard edges of their characters softened and gave way to bruised, human contours. It was this decision, to let the maelstrom spin, to preserve its shape, that fixed the scene's infamous nickname. The aftershock was immediate and strange. A production source swears the set felt sanctified, like a church suddenly aware of its own echoes. "We have never watched anything like that," this person confided later. When it ended, no one moved. The lighting felt designed to hold the silence still. The camera behaved like a spy at a confessional. When the director finally closed it, no one trusted their own voice. It was the quiet either of a miracle or a wound. What followed? Protocols. The footage, treated like a live ember, went straight to separate drives. Encryption piled upon encryption. Access split into layers only a tiny cadre could breach. Security posted at the soundstage doors, eyes on the corridor like guards at a vault. Even old hands said the atmosphere turned alien, that peculiar stillness where every step is weighted and each whisper lands like a decision. As for Barış and Elçin, legend says the spell broke and they fled to opposite corners of reality. He, famous for iron discipline, walked the perimeter with that inward gaze fans know so well, hands pocketed, refusing the courtesy of a break. He wanted to keep the residue, to harness the ache for the next setup. She, who carries light like a second skin, asked the makeup room to go dark. Mirrors turned around, bulbs shuddered, the soft drone of hairdryers humming at a distance while she sat breathing, alone with the heartbeat that hadn't yet learned it was only a scene. Those who saw them said they looked like people who had left something on the floor and needed to find the strength to pick it up again. Then came the quiet war behind closed doors. The director stood certain that this was the artery of the entire project, the pulse that would lift the show from very good to unforgettable. Opposite him, executives and producers with careful eyes and calculators, worried that such unguarded rawness might tilt the balance or spook a swath of viewers. Meetings scheduled as routine turned flammable. Calendars shifted like sandbanks. Art squared up against business in the old standoff and refused to yield. Post-production transformed into a pressure cooker. The first assembly, insiders say, lingered longer than anyone expected, daring the viewer not to look away. Then came trims, then new trims, then alternate versions multiplying like reflections in a hall of mirrors. Each cut suggested a different consequence for the story. Each revision breathed a new rumor. With every iteration the mythology thickened, this take too tender, that one too dangerous, another too honest to survive. Meanwhile, outside, the internet fanned itself into delirium. The production's silence, and the refusal of Barış and Elçin to clarify anything, only fed the appetite. A teaser dropped like a heartbeat, a stroboscopic breath of Elçin with grief etched around her mouth. The instant Barış stiffens as if an old bruise suddenly stung. A blink on a timeline. Enough to make the comments sections catch fire. If they show it, this will break the season. This could redefine them. Others suggested a long game, a slow burn worthy of seasoned marketing minds. Perhaps they were right. Promotion recalibrated to orbit that invisible gravity. Fewer hints, thicker mystery. Editors scrutinized each trailer frame, too long and the spell breaks, too brief and the momentum dies. Let me ask you, loyal friends of Secrets Behind the Stars. If you were in the director's chair, would you fight to air the raw truth, risking fallout, or would you choose prudence and protect the machine that pays the bills? And, be honest, do you believe Barış and Elçin are ready to share this much of their art, this much of themselves, with the world? Secrecy seeped everywhere. Overnight, phones were banned from set. Call sheets arrived redacted, black bars like battle scars across names and times. Script pages were watermarked and tracked, each line a breadcrumb marked by its reader. In the edit suite, access was sliced into strict compartments, no one saw everything. Encrypted files traveled along a chain of custody that felt ceremonial, almost monastic in its gravity. Through it all, the crew's respect for the two leads swelled. It is easy to stir noise with a rumor, it is hard to take notes, hit marks, and return to the lens after your insides have been scraped thin. They did it. They did not deny. They did not confirm. They let the work speak. So circle back to the picture we began with, a sealed stage, a skeletal team, a director convinced some truths only appear when no one tries to catch them. A lighting scheme that turns breath into architecture. A camera that chooses faces over lines, listening as much as it records. Two actors who sink into their roles and surface a little changed. The rest is waiting. The audience listening for either thunder or silence, undecided which would thrill them more. There is a stubborn rumor that the scene existed in no original draft. It arrived late, conjured by that unmistakable chemistry that reemerges when Barış and Elçin share space, sparked by a stray exchange in rehearsal that left the room a few degrees colder. The phrase echoed from hush-hush meetings is simple and inexorable, the heart of the project. Those who heard the director behind closed doors remember a single line that keeps returning: if we don't use this, the story will breathe, but it won't sing. To cut it, from that vantage point, would be a tidy business choice, and a creative amputation. Still, the only question fans shout into the night refuses an answer: when do we see it? Some insiders predict a password-locked extended version, a brief pilgrimage for diehards on the platform's digital hub. Others bet the season will dance around the thunder, letting it rumble just off-screen so conversation gathers every week like storm clouds. One theory whispers that future recaps will hide crumbs, here a gesture, there a line, leading back to a loaf we are never allowed to slice. What feels certain is that the show's path has already bent. If the scene lands in canon intact, relationships will tilt, stakes will sharpen, and the people on screen will look more dangerous and more breakable than before. If it vanishes, the legend will swell to fill the hole it leaves, and every following moment will be measured against a phantom. Either way, the audience has been trained to see more than they once saw. And what does it say that a breath, a pause, the tremor in a voice could rattle an entire production? What does it say about Barry's Arduç and Elçin's Sangu that strangers not present in the room felt the vibration through rumor alone? They have always been precise, consistently generous to colleagues, fiercely private without freezing anyone out. This time, that discipline is writing the narrative as sharply as any press strategy could. Which brings us to the end of tonight's confession. The forbidden scene of Barış and Elçin is already a legend, a ghost pacing the corridor of every episode yet to air. We at Secrets Behind the Stars will keep our ears to the rails, chasing every whisper, frame, and leak worthy of your attention. If this journey behind the curtain moved you, like and share it with anyone who worships at the altar of honest art. Don't forget to subscribe, and consider becoming a supporter so we can keep bringing you the stories that no one else dares to tell. Do you think we will ever see the full scene? The floor is yours. Thank you for watching, and until the next video, where truth is the headline, not the footnote, stay curious.